Good morning, everyone. Um, Distinguished guests, my fellow panel members, and members of this august audience. At the outset, let me thank GEEF and Mr. Puneet Singh specially for inviting me to this conference and for giving me this opportunity to moderate this panel discussion, and that also with such eminent panelists. So, today's panel discussion and the topic is net zero in our daily lives. And I think this topic is no more something which is abstract or distant or aspirational, but profoundly personal and relatable in our daily lives. So net zero in daily life essentially is how global energy transition is transforming the way we make our own personal choices at home, the jobs we do, the industries we build, and the opportunities we create for the next generation. I think some of the eminent speakers in the previous sessions highlighted and reiterated how India is witnessing an accelerated and unprecedented pace of clean energy adoption. Be it the renewable energy installation, which is reaching at its record highs. We are seeing green hydrogen, becoming a national priority, and fuels like compressed biogas or sustainable aviation fuel gaining deep grounds. But I think, the real story lies not in these technologies or these fuels, but the transformation that these technologies are bringing in our daily lives. Whether it is the farmer who is now supplying biomass to the biogas plants, or the engineers who are investing their efforts to new age electrolyzers, the startups who are investing in energy storages, or we as consumers who are embracing clean mobility. But every opportunity has also its share of complexity. And as many analyses and many thought papers have also highlighted, that net zero is not only about climate ambition, it is also a pragmatic approach and a balanced approach between affordability, energy security, and economic growth, right? And the gap between ambition and action still remains significant, and that is why I think conferences like these and panel discussions with such panelists become critical and significant. So, I'm deeply proud and honored to have such eminent panelists alongside me who sit on the intersection of industry, policy, technology, innovation, and science. And I think all of them are leaders in their own spheres, and will bring in that unique lens of how energy transition is transforming the way at ground, and how we can make this energy transition more accelerated in a scalable and inclusive manner. With that, let me open today's discussion with my panelists, and let me go first to Ms. Ritu Lal. I think because last about an hour or so on different sessions, we have been covering the technology. But let me first start with the human side of things, the human resources, and come what we discuss about AI and technology and Gen AI and agentic AI. I think the power of human resources and human skills is something which cannot be discounted at any way. So Ms. Lal, my first question is, we are seeing many organizations now transforming their operating model, their operating construct, moving away, or rather diversifying from the core hydrocarbon-focused business model to scalable renewable energy and other such aspects. So in this transition, what are some of the organizational patterns and trends that you are witnessing, which is helping such organizations navigate this dual ambition of balancing both the conventional as well as the new technologies?
Okay. Thanks. I'm audible? Yeah. So thank you so much. I presume the question is on energy companies, right?
That's right.
Right. So I think we're all aware that some of the world's leading energy companies across the world from companies like Shell, Total to Petronas. And before my current role, I was part of a renewable organization which got acquired by Petronas. And it was Petronas's first acquisition. They acquired us in 2019. Anywhere in the world in the space of renewable energy, we were a C&I, a commercial and industrial focused solar IPP. So that was, for them, Shell had a few investments. Total has investments in IPPs. Total has investments in solar manufacturing as well. There are many oil companies which are diversifying, right? They are looking at how they will still be relevant in, say, 2070, right? So this is their plan for the energy transition, because it has perhaps a more existential threat to them than to other industry, right? To a manufacturing industry, the source of energy changes. But as long as their product is relevant, they remain relevant. It hits energy companies way more deep. Now, having said this, if you look at, say, stock performance of energy companies, there is nothing to say that they're facing an existential threat in the future, anywhere which is impacting them in the financial markets. While there is a double whammy, it's not just electricity. If you see, actually the rate of adoption of EVs is even higher, right? And it seems quicker and easier than what is happening on the electricity side. So on the oil side, it's probably even more evident. How and when it will translate into impact on these organizations, we don't know. Looking at how things stand and what the future is, it seems like, yes, it will. So that's where I guess they're planning and they're preparing what they're preparing. Having said that, a lot of roadblocks already. If I look at Shell in India, who are quite, first off the blocks kind of thing, globally also, in terms of looking at, say, renewables as an area of diversification. Some of the platforms that they acquired are already on the markets. Other companies, European companies, energy companies, utilities, EDF, etc. So at least from the European organizations, the future of investing in the renewable side in India has somewhat hit the brakes. They're having a rethink. A lot of them are exiting from their platforms. So it is right now, I think, like feel your way as you move forward, see what works, what does not deliver, right? Because I guess also the way those industries work while you're in the space of energy, renewable works very, very different from conventional. So they're just feeling their way around to see what the next steps are. So it's not a very linear, progressive journey. It is going to be, and I presume if it's a roadblock here, in many other segments, they're going to face similar challenges. So that is something I think which is evolving. And I haven't at least got a very clear idea, and I don't know if anybody else in the room does, of if there is a defined path forward. So it's quite exciting, but also it's full of uncertainty.
No, I think very well said. And, India, specifically in Indian context, we being one of the largest energy consumers and, the path that we are on with our aspirations to be a developed nation, we have to take that balanced approach. And I think something similar is being seen in some of the other parts of the world as well, especially with some of the latest geopolitical events turning out. So it's a balanced and a calculated approach that we are seeing across the industry. Let me now go to Ms. Sushma Rawat. She's has been the former director exploration with ONGC, one of the premier national oil companies of this country. Ma'am, my question to you is, in this current evolving scenario of net zero and energy transition, And with your immense background in this field of exploration and production, what do you see are some of the disruptive and meaningful technological changes that can come in, that probably exploration and production teams can adopt to make the upstream operations more energy efficient and aligned with the net zero ambitions of the country?
Namaskar, and I really am thankful to GEEF. One, for holding such kind of seminars time and time again. I have been a part of a lot of seminars which address the pressing, enigmas as well as the future problems or the solutions. And right now, about myself, I can say I am a geologist by discipline. And having put in 36 years with ONGC as an explorer or explorationist looking for new oil and gas. ONGC being the NOC, we have the largest database as far as subsurface is concerned. And I think the understanding thereof. So I'll come to the question, along with the exploration portfolio, I also was the director in charge for carbon management and sustainability for the ONGC group of companies, which is around 14 companies, big and small, subsidiaries, JVs and all. And the net zero, especially after COP26, when the Honorable Prime Minister committed and talked about the Panchamrit aspect of energy. In India, and especially the companies as well as the PSU sector, they started looking at where they were and what they could contribute towards attaining the net zero. For India or Bharat, it is 2070. So in 23, when I came to have the responsibility of carbon management, we started looking at what our ESG scores were and where was it that we should be. And I will also mention Ernst & Young because they were our partners in trying to read out what ONGC was doing and what it should be doing. And in a year's time, by 23 end, we came up with a net zero roadmap for ONGC. And our commitment was 2038. And the rating in 23 or 22, it was F. And in 2 years or 1.5 years' time, we brought up the ESG rating to B. I mean, people who are in ESG would understand that. And that affected the business aspects of ONGC group of companies, including the ONGC Videsh Limited, wherein we bid for assets abroad. And sustainability and ESG score, does have a big impact. Having said that, the commitment of ONGC towards net zero in various aspects, is very steadfast. We have more than 1.5 lakh crores committed towards greening or towards the greening of ONGC. In fact, by the end of 23, we came up with a concept, and we do have a separate subsidiary which is called ONGC Green Limited. And Mr. Joshi, he's the CEO here. So he'll be talking about that aspect. I'll stick more towards exploration and what it means for oil and gas. The core is oil and gas. Being from ONGC, first and foremost, what I look or what is was always on my mind was looking at the self-reliance in energy requirement. And being an NOC, ONGC has always looked towards that. All stories of oil and gas being, I will not use the word sin, but being, not that clean, because coal, I believe, is much more this thing. And there is a lot of talk about critical minerals, rare earth. I don't know how many people know how clean it is or how environmentally friendly it is. I mean, you look at the mine operations and you would realize that. I'll come to that later. So the electricity which goes for the EV vehicles, how much of it comes from actual coal or other sources, it's really very intriguing. Anyway, back to oil and gas, and I was looking at the speakers before me, very eminent speakers, a lot of figures, a lot of this thing. Different kind of energies, and when we do exploration, we look into the subsurface. I mean, it's 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, and as geologists, we try to understand what there is. The rock types, everybody knows we have to have a reservoir to have oil and gas. We have to have a trap or a seal to, not let it move any further so that the accumulation happens. And of course, we have to have a source from where the oil and gas gets generated. Along with it, I have been a basin and a petroleum system modeler and analyst, where we do the generation, migration, and entrapment cycles. For that, we require pressure and heat. And it is not only heat of today, but it is the heat, the paleo heat analysis which we do. 200 million years ago, where was my land? I mean, the acreage. What was the heat, this thing? And, from there, oil and gas, of course, we understand that. Believe me, the database which I was talking about would be having around 17 to 18,000 drilled wells. And we take temperature logs. So way back in 2015, 16, we were just thinking about it, and especially for the fields which get depleted. So we were just looking at it, and one thing struck my mind, and I was talking about the presentation. A lot of energies you would have got listed there, but I think, or I might have missed, nobody talked about geothermal energy. That is one constant source of clean, green, sustainable, continuous energy. And we have the wells for it. We have the technology for it. We have mapped it. I mean, we'll be talking about digital. I have prepared 3D digital models for the subsurface up to 10 kilometers, lakhs of square kilometers wide. We have those models. So, bringing in the exploration towards green, of course, oil and gas is going to be there. There is no doubt about it. Might not be for the transportation, but for petchem industry. And petchem industry is going to stay. A lot of things around this is petchem. So it is only, in addition, coal never went away. Wood never went away, right? So it is always addition, because when we talk about data centers and we talk about AI, ML, and the minister from UAE, Dr. Jabbar, he was saying it consumes, when you run an AI or this thing on your analytics, a query, it consumes 10 times, 12 times more energy than your normal Google search. So where is all that energy going to come from? There always will be an addition. So along with solar, it's a very low entry, low investment, this thing. When I was a kid, I used to hear about, there were a lot of solar cookers which were around the locality. And right now, it has become a major contributor to it. And wind and all. So the other aspect which I would like to point out, and especially for ONGC or companies like ONGC, the funding for green. It comes from the profit out of oil and gas. We are funding our green through our profits or our capital of oil and gas. And this is what most of the companies are doing. You talk about Shell, you talk about Equinor, you talk about BP. And the reason why some of them have stepped down or sort of sidelined green is, again, because of the low profitability and their shareholders' comments on what they are doing. And let me also say, in ONGC, we have partnered IOCs, not only for oil and gas, but for Equinor, for CCUS, Shell for waste to energy, And Total Energies was one of the companies which, with which we had an MOU along with exploration, wherein they supplied us unmanned drones to check out not only CO2 emissions, but the greenhouse gas emissions. And that is a bigger story than actual CO2. So exploration, and I'll be talking more about CCUS. Again, subsurface, how much it can hold, where it should be kept, what will be the plume progression over the decades, over 100 of years, because we don't want to create another environmental disaster just by pumping in CO2 anywhere we want. And there is due diligence to be done. And another aspect which I would also like to point out, because we will be talking about greening, we are talking about carbon capture. I was in one of the committees for a year with Niti Aayog, then later with the Department of Science and Technology. We have just concluded and brought out a report. The market for carbon credits, or the aspect of what my carbon credit is going to cost, because that will decide the economics of my project. So I think that is also important. So exploration, anything to do with subsurface, but since I had the opportunity to also look after carbon management. So, and ONGC has, not only data, but people who have started getting interested. There are youngsters who actually are also doing PhD in carbon capture or in sustainability from the main core, like a geologist or a geophysicist, and I know of those youngsters. So there is a lot of interest which is created within the industry, within the even the PSUs, the NOCs, and I think that is going to support or push forward India's effort towards attaining net zero.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. And I think two important takeaways. I think one, you rightly said geothermal is something which is relatively less talked about in this energy transition journey, but has immense potential. And obviously carbon capture is another, another emerging area, and obviously has found recent mentions in government schemes and budgets as well. I'll probably come to that part in a bit. But let me now come to the right-hand side of, to my right-hand side, and coincidentally, again, it's ONGC, but the greener side of ONGC, and I have Mr. Joshi, who is the COO in ONGC Green Limited. Sir, ONGC Green has been, at the forefront of leading ONGC's some of the clean energy and net zero ambitions, some of the overall net zero target that ONGC as an organization has taken. I think most of these initiatives are being led from ONGC Green Limited. From your experience, if you could tell me, sir, what are some of the, which are some of those fuels which are more closer to mass adoption, among the plethora of options that we talk about, and for those specific technologies or options, what do you think are still some of the factors or enablers that can make those fuels more affordable and convenient for daily users?
Thank you, Aniket. First of all, I'll thank the organizers for inviting me here. I come from ONGC Green, which is a 100% subsidiary of ONGC. We have a target of 10 gigawatt by 2030 and net zero by 2038. And we intend to spend around 1 lakh crores on renewable business by 2030. We believe in ONGC that India is growing so fast that it needs all sources of energy. Oil and gas will remain for a long time. But in addition to oil and gas, there are areas which needs to be taken up commercially so that the huge requirement of energy is met. And for us, renewable is one such area. And we are working on almost all decarbonizing levers, right from solar, wind, green hydrogen, CCUS, geothermal, and whatnot. Coming to net zero in daily life, or what Mr. Aniket is saying, which are the fuels which can come to the masses early or which can be used by the masses immediately. To my mind, there are 4 fuels, but they include electricity generated through renewables, then bio-CNG or CBG, then ethanol, and finally green hydrogen. First, I'll talk about CBG, because CBG is an area where government has given us a mandate to build up 25 CBG plants. And here the technology is evolving. There are various technologies available. You have different kind of feedstocks, right from agro waste to MSW to cow dung and whatnot. There are challenges in CBG which we are now tackling because we are entering into the business. There is an issue related to feedstock availability. Then the yield is not coming up to the rated capacity of the plant. Government has come out with lot of initiatives and incentives to promote CBG. CBG as a fuel is already there. You know, if you are using CNG, CBG will be blended to CNG and it will be used. So there is no change in the behavioral aspect. The consumer knows that I am going to use CBG through CNG. 2, the point is the price of CBG is we are getting 85% of the, it is linked to the natural gas price. So the price aspect is also very clear. You see a lot of buses, then autos and cars operating on CNG. So CBG is already there in the masses. So to my mind, this is the first fuel. Second fuel is electricity. We talk about electric mobility, cars, electric vehicles are, we are seeing a huge surge in all these. But ONGC as such is not directly into the EV business, but our subsidiaries, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited and MRPL, which are our refineries, they are heavily into this. EV again is already into the masses. Only thing we have to see is that there are some concerns about long distance drives. When you go for a very, very long drive, when you talk about 500 kilometers, 600 kilometers, then there is a fear in the mind whether I'll be getting these things or not. So what action here is required is that the chargers should be available at all public places. Fast chargers should be made available, right from malls to hospitals to offices to highways. Then only, and second thing is there is some cost impact on account of EV. So that burden needs to be reduced. The prices of the EV vehicles gradually should come at par with CNG vehicles or the IC engine vehicles. Third fuel is ethanol. Ethanol again, ethanol is a success story and CBG is on that path now. Ethanol, you blend ethanol in petrol. So already our refineries are doing this and ethanol is already into the masses. The fourth fuel, green hydrogen, is yet to make its presence in the masses because we see very limited hydrogen buses operating on pilot scale. But the future belongs to green hydrogen and we will see a lot of fleets, buses, trucks and industries which will be using green hydrogen in future. But green hydrogen, the challenge is the cost. The current cost of green hydrogen is around $3 to $4 per kg, while the grey hydrogen costs you around $1.5 to $2. So what is required is to bring down the cost of green hydrogen, and for that there are only 2 elements. One is the cost of the power and other is the cost of the electrolyzers. So ONGC has plans to venture into this. So we are doing it at R&D level. Our Energy Management Institute, or what we call an ONGC Energy Center, is working on technologies to produce green hydrogen. 2, we are taking up pilot projects in some of our operating plants where we have renewable plants available. The pilots are necessary because that they will give you the confidence that how to produce, how to transport and how to store the green hydrogen. Had it been the case that it will be used in a refinery, no problems. But when you think of using it into public places, then lot of security concern are there. So storage is an important aspect. So to my mind, these are the 4 fuels which are already there in the masses, and green hydrogen will make a big impact in the time to come.
Thank you. I'll now move to Mr. Rakesh Singh. And I think Mr. Rakesh Singh is the Director Global Marketing in Sustainable Technology Solutions in KBR. And this question is now more from the markets and the customers, the customer adoption standpoint. So, Mr. Singh, within your global marketing role, what are some of the trends, the transition and the changes that you're observing in skills, capabilities, and the narratives that are required to market some of these clean energy solutions compared to, say, for example, the other conventional energy solutions that we used to see in the market? But how is the narrative changing that you're observing?
Thank you, Aniket. I would like to start my things with the basic first sentence that industry needs energy, and industry does not care whether it's a green energy or what. Industry needs energy at the cheapest cost possible. A factory owner needs electricity at the cheapest cost. He does not care if the electricity is coming from renewable sources. You can call it green electrons. He does not care. A transporter needs diesel for his truck fleet. He does not care if the diesel is renewable diesel or what. So, every industry needs electricity at the cheapest cost. Now, what myself, I joined, I've been watching this energy industry since 2000 when I joined TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute. In the last 25 years, I have seen industry growing from crude oil base to shale gas. Remember the years 2011, 2012, when shale gas boom came up in US. All the energy companies in US, they started saying that they are not into crude oil, they are into gas industry. Every big company changed their tagline to being based in the gas industry. Another trend that I saw in year 2018, 2019, the sustainability word came into fashion. Every company changed their logo color from red and something else to blue and green. They changed their taglines. If you've been watching the industry, you'll remember one of the big majors who was leading this green wagon was British Petroleum, BP. In fact, BP comes out with an annual report which is watched by everyone. They come out with the energy projections for next 5 years, next 10 years, which is read by everyone. And they were leading this renewable energy domain. Now we know in 2025 what happened to BP. So sustainability, we have seen its growth in 2018, 2019. Every company jumped on the bandwagon of sustainability. 2025, President Trump came, he changed everything. The policy changed from green to drill, baby, drill. Fossil fuels came into existence again in 2025. If you compare, renewable energy is still there. If you take the case of US versus Europe, in US, no one is talking about renewable energy any longer. You can't even talk about it. If you're talking about it, you are going against the wills of President Trump, and you may not get the contracts from the US government. Whereas in Europe, people are still talking about green energy. Green energy is still fashionable there in Europe. In Japan, in Asia, some of the countries like Japan and Korea, we still see growth of the renewable energy. I would like to take another case, highlight about renewable energy through another example. Last week we had this India Energy Week. Many of you would have attended that conference. If I just compare India Energy Week with 2 other similar conferences that happens globally, one is RDPEC that happens every year in Abu Dhabi. Third one is Gas Tech. These 3 conferences are in the similar domain but represent priorities in different geographies. Gas Tech happens once in, they keep on changing their continents. Last year it was in Europe. This year it's going to be in Asia. Previous year it was in US. RDPEC happens every year in Middle East. India Energy Week, it's India conference. At RDPEC, in 2025, the focus was completely on digital and AI. Digital and AI in the oil and gas sector. And same thing reflects also in Gas Tech. But at India Energy Week, if you remember it, yes, we were talking about digital and AI, but our focus was on energy security, energy affordability. We need energy. And that's a reality of our developing country. We need energy to grow. We need energy to compete. Yep.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh. Very valid points. And now let me move to Mr. Karan Arora, who is an energy advisor with advisor in green hydrogen in GIZ India. And I think GIZ has a very important role that GIZ is playing, in terms of promoting some of the cleaner technologies and especially green hydrogen through the India-German cooperation. Karan, my question, and we heard Mr. Joshi saying that, hydrogen today is not looked at something which is very promising in the immediate term, but something which has a deep potential across sectors, right? And specifically in the hard-to-abate sectors. What do you think, given your experiences, what do you think should be India's top priority from now to 2030 that, helps and enables that green hydrogen becomes a transformative rather than a incremental component in the country's net zero journey?
Thank you, Aniket, and thanks also to the organizers for including me with this esteemed panel. And obviously, 2030 is only tomorrow. And talking about GIZ, we've been active in India for about 60 years, and the Indo-German cooperation has been going very strong. The Chancellor had visited a few weeks back, and as part of the Indo-German collaboration, the focus is a lot on green hydrogen. India is seen as a very serious market when it comes to the hydrogen production hubs. So we have seen the world's best solar and wind prices in India. We are able to harness it very well. We have the long coastline, and given all these opportunities, obviously, the whole world's eyes are looking at India, and that's how we also had this Indo-German green hydrogen roadmap, where both the governments have, they are cooperating on this topic. And when it comes to GIZ, we are actively working on sustainable development, urban development, skilling, health. These are some crucial aspects which we usually are involved into. But yes, talking about the roadmap for 2030, as ONGC Green also indicated that yes, green hydrogen is something which is in its early stage, and that's how even in GIZ, through our initial projects, we are trying to ramp up the market of green molecules in India. And the intention is that we are able to have the right policy levers, right implementation at this stage, and that's how we have also seen the world's best green ammonia prices in India. SECI had recently announced these results. Most likely, our colleague here, KVR, we will see their technology, in their Haber-Bosch processes that are yet to be announced by many fertilizer companies. And the Indian market looks very promising, when it comes to the roadmap for 2030. But this is the right moment to focus on certain aspects when it comes to hydrogen economy. Are we looking at a decentralized approach, or an approach where we are producing these molecules in a hydrogen valley? So we always say that, when it comes to hydrogen production and consumption, it is always better that we have identified certain hydrogen valleys in India, hydrogen hubs in India. The National Green Hydrogen Mission is backing these hydrogen valleys. So for this 2030 roadmap, I would say a lot of emphasis has to be for the hydrogen valley ecosystem. Because the refineries are sitting there. There are a lot of fertilizer companies. They are very well placed when it comes to using the desalinated water and also exporting it to European and the other places where there is huge hydrogen demand. And when it comes to grey hydrogen, we are already the top world's largest grey hydrogen consumer, and also we are importing a lot of ammonia. So there also we see that a lot of opportunity exists in this sector. More than 7 million metric tons is already being consumed, the grey hydrogen, so to say. So there is a good opportunity to kind of come up with certain financial instruments, which is obviously possible through international cooperation, and that's also has been our effort. There are certain innovative financing options like CFDs. S2 Global and Hintco had come out with these global tenders for importing green ammonia and green methanol, sustainable aviation fuel, and the matter of the fact is, the Indian companies are, the front leaders there. The first round has just concluded. We saw the prices of 1,000 euros per ton of green ammonia. India has already touched $600 or so in its domestic market. But the second round is also active. And the interesting fact here is that, these policy levers and these commitments, are addressing double-side auctions. On one side, we are seeing auctions on the supply side. And couple of years when these producers are actually producing these molecules, we will see the demand-side auctions. And the differential will be bridged through these CFD instruments. Something similar needs to be replicated in India because we want off-takers. So right now we are playing a cricket match where, everything is in place. The bowlers are there. The umpire is the certification person. They are the referees. They know the rules. Maybe we need to work somewhere on the compatibility of Indian rules with the European rules. But there is no batsman to face the bowler. So that is something which we need to work on, and we want more batsmen sitting here, more refineries, more fertilizer companies in such conferences, so that a proper matchmaking can happen between the both sides, and this marriage eventually happens.
Thank you. Interesting points, and I think one important aspect when we talk about green hydrogen is it's not only about the domestic demand, but I think India at this stage specifically, and Karan was mentioning about these HINCO tenders where we are looking to be one of the global exporters, right? And I'll come to Karan in a bit of time onto some bit more details around that aspect. But for the time being, let me move to Mr. Suresh Babu. He's the scientist and director in Department of Science and Technology. Mr. Babu, I mean, India's EV and energy storage technologies, and not only India's but any EV and energy storage technology is heavily dependent on critical minerals and rare earth minerals, right? And the way currently the global market is structured, we know only one country is mainly controlling the supplies, and in today's world, in today's geopolitical volatility, that trade imbalance is being looked at as one strategic advantage, in a lot of trade negotiations, global trade negotiations. I would want to understand from you, at the forefront of some of these scientific innovation, what are some of the initiatives that DST is looking at to bring more, to take reduction in the import dependency and promote more indigenization in the critical minerals and the rare earth space to promote this sector?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ankit. Thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. In fact, when we talk about EVs and energy storage, that is a very important topic at this point of time. And we see that a lot of boom is there in adoption of EVs, but when we look very critically, there are a lot of challenges that industry is facing. The first one is that import of raw materials. And most of the raw materials we import from outside, lithium or manganese or cobalt and all that. And then we have seen, as rightly mentioned by Mr. Ankit, that there was some geopolitical issues that happened in between. There was some kind of restriction that was imposed on importing of rare earth magnets. So that has shook the entire automotive industry where to go and how to deal with such issues. Indeed, many ministries, they had Ministry of Heavy Industries and Ministry of Mines had detailed discussion with the stakeholders, and now the government is also promoting non-rare earth based motors development in India. There are like induction motors and switch reluctance motors and ferrite based magnet motors and all that. But those motors are not on par with permanent magnet synchronous motor, which is based on rare earth magnet. But a lot of research is needed to bring up, to meet the performance and all the requirements. So R&D becomes a crucial in that case. And when it comes to battery materials, we see that lithium, though we have found some resources, but mining is a big challenge, and a lot of efforts are being put in by Ministry of Mines, and recently there was a National Critical Minerals Mission, and they were looking at entire value chain right from the mining till recycling and all the possible ways to bring in the technologies which are environmental friendly, which may reduce the impact on environment and reduce the impact on the human health. So that in that context, a lot of startups have been invited to come up with disruptive ideas to help the government. And as far as Department of Science and Technology is concerned, we are actually in the middle of, we are in bridge between the academia and the industry. So we always focus on translational research that starts from TRL level, technology readiness level 3 until 6. Whether we talk about hydrogen, whether we talk about carbon capture and utilization and storage, or energy storage, in all of that, the challenges remain same. And the translational research from the lab till the commercialization is a big challenge. And over the last 5 years, a lot of things have changed. The academic institutions are also coming forward to openly associate with the industry and bringing out the solutions, and the startups have also come in between to bridge the gap. And DST has been having programs. One is electric vehicle R&D mission. It was launched under Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which is focusing on all aspects related to batteries and motors, power electronics, and charging infrastructure. And sir was mentioning about charging infrastructure as being the biggest challenge when we go for city to city transport and all that. So, and there are high power charging technologies that have been focused now in collaboration with Germany and some of the countries. So we have international collaborations as well. Even in hydrogen also, Hydrogen Valley Innovation Clusters. Those are actually being now in collaboration with MNRE. DST is working in that. So in all of that, and even when we talk about electrolyzers, these are actually some of the basic stumbling blocks where actually to bring commercialized products. So DST has been working in that. And apart from that, when it comes to alternative technologies, like sodium ion batteries is one thing that is coming up in a big way, where actually we don't need to depend on external sources for the raw material, because sodium is available within the country in abundance. So, and these are safer in the tropical environment, and a lot of work is happening, but it will only address only 2 and 3 wheelers, but 4-wheeler and buses, trucks, I think this technology will not work, sodium ion batteries. So, and apart from that, some of the research is going on lithium iron phosphate batteries, where cobalt is not there. Cobalt is very toxic in nature, and government is exploring. In fact, Niti Aayog is very active and even monitoring and reviewing time to time, and to accelerate adoption of EVs, and especially raw material resource as well as charging technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Babu. And I think, again, very valid points, and something that, India as a country is looking at, given our aspirations and ambition towards EV and energy storage. Indigenization of the overall ecosystem is something which is very critical, and I think DST is playing a very critical role there at the forefront. Let me go back to Ms. Ritu Lal, and this summit's theme emphasizes on how net zero reshapes how all of us are living, earning, and working on our jobs, right? From your deep experience in this field, in specifically in the energy sector, how do you see energy transition creating new livelihood patterns, be it in terms of new white-collar jobs or decentralized energy entrepreneurship, or even new supply chain roles? So how do you see the new trends coming up in this space?
Okay, thank you. Of course, it is having an impact on jobs, right? So in the last decade or so, and some of you on the panel, you have ESG practices in the consulting firms, right? You have technology-related design engineering solutions, and I think KBR is an example of that, right? Let me break it down into first functional segments as well as horizontally across industries. So the new industries that have sprung up, are renewables. And again, within renewables, if you look at solar and wind, in terms of the manufacturing ecosystem, very different, right? From an application, not very different, but from setting up and execution, again, very different skill sets, right? So if let's first talk about renewables, and these two seem to be the all-pervasive, right? A lot of jobs have come up. You know, if you look at the last 15, 20 years, all the IPPs in the country. Yeah. Module manufacturing, to be honest, existed even before the IPPs did. Some of them were exporting in smaller quantities. It was all very small. Solar was very, very expensive. Some of the PPAs which would now be maturing were in 20 plus rupees a unit. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's only when like the Jawaharlal Nehru solar mission came up, I think around the year 2010. And we picked it up at those prices because, and I think at that time it was very visionary of India, because it did not make any economic sense, but it was something which was going to come to the future. To get in there and at least establish how it works. In those days, your utility projects were 1, 2, and 5 megawatts. Today, you have on-site generation, which is in those numbers, right? And if you look at it, on the IPP side of solar, on the IPP side of wind, there's a plethora of white, blue, green, all sorts of jobs, right? Does that mean we are very skilled? I disagree. So a lot of the jobs that you see are commercial in nature, not a problem. When you look at technical skills, see solar, on the installation side, solar tends to be easier, okay? Easier to do, so easier to train when you have right down from the installation contractors. But we're still not there. I mean, a ground mount solar plant should never see accidents. You routinely see fatalities in India. A lot of them electrical shocks. So there are very simple things that we don't follow. Clearly, we either lack the appreciation or the skilling for it, you know, because the preventive tools exist. Wind energy right now, and I do senior hiring for this sector as well, huge paucity in talent on the technical side. And I'm still talking execution. And over the last few years, you've had a lot of companies bidding for hybrid projects, which involve a certain quantum of wind energy. So you have senior people sitting with like 3 offers and negotiating also with their current employer. So there is a paucity of talent there. If I look at R&D, complete paucity of talent on the solar side. You know, we talk about indigenization and reliability, and yes, you know, so many gigawatts, 100 gigawatt plus capacity for domestic manufacturing of, say, solar panels, okay? 20, 30 gigawatts for cells. But where are these coming from? So it's not really indigenization. And you're there, it is important. You've got to make a start somewhere. So I am not belittling any progress. But you're at the assembly end of the whole manufacturing value chain. You have very little in terms of ability or talent or even the technical know-how at the top end of the value chain, which is your silicon, wafers, as well as what the next technology is. You're completely import dependent. The entire world was dependent on the US and Europe for technology, as you know, what kind of, is it like going to be polysilicon? Is it going to be what was, you know, fashionable for a while, monoperc? We have now moved to TOPCon. And now over the next decade, we expect to see advancements within TOPCon, including HJT and what have you. In this segment, we have very, very little talent. So even if it were to become available to you tomorrow, you won't know what to do with it. Which is also why you see companies hesitate. Nobody's really manufacturing wafers. It's not just about the heavy capex that you will put in. You'll have, what will end up being a standalone technology and at one point in time over something which is, kind of the evolutionary path over there is very, very rapid. So unless you're able to keep pace with it, it's going to become obsolete very, very quickly. One of the issues that we faced when we had these geopolitical tensions with China after 2020 was many of the large module manufacturers, and I'm naming the top 1 or 2 over here, I'm not naming them, but including them, they set up huge capacities for manufacturing. But they were not able to even operationalize those machines because the capex itself was from China, the technology was from China, the raw materials were from China, and the people who were going to operationalize those were also coming in from there. And when you didn't have visas, they were not able to operationalize. So in this particular case, the company sent a small team of individuals to China to get trained, but they didn't have the same success. So there are a lot of dependencies, right, that still exist. Somewhere, you can't just rely on the government to take all of the financial risks at their own head and for the corporates to have very safe bets that will necessarily make money. Globally, companies have to stick their necks out and say, here it is, I am going to invest, and then I'm going to go back end and look at it from a long-term investment horizon which exceeds 15 years. Today, all of the manufacturing, their investment horizon is 5 years. Within 5 years, the recovery is happening. But that is also not giving you any real edge. And I think we're being extremely, extremely optimistic. And there's a childlike optimism when we talk about being a global hub for hydrogen export. Look around you, look at what countries like China, look at what countries like Australia and in the Middle East, the kind of investments they've already made. They are ready with multiple billion tons of capacity of generation. China alone has more capacity generation for green hydrogen than the current global demand. And the cost of generating, which is less than half of what we have here. Why would anybody import from us? If you look at where Australia has gone here, again, similar issues. So building in is, just because we do some maths and then we are in our echo chambers and we are a global hub for this and a global hub for that, it's all very superficial when you start digging in a little lower. And that is a massive challenge. But talent will not, it can't be in silos that, let me import R&D talent from, whichever place in the world, returning Indians. And we have a huge amount of science talent across the world. You will not go to any research institute in Germany where you will not see like a plethora of PhD scholars who are from India. You will go to Ivy League universities in the US, you will go to universities in the UK, you will find Indian talent there, in the Netherlands. So they are there across the world, and I'm sure they're willing to work here, provided we step up to the plate. We can't all be living in our silos, risk-free investments, and skimming the surface and then expecting to develop something which is global in nature.
Again, very, very, very valid points from Ms. Lal, and I think the larger message is, besides the targets and the ambition, what are the things that are on ground, including human resource upskilling and reducing the dependency on, foreign technologies and skills. I mean, indigenization of the skill sets and human resources is another critical thing in this transition journey. I'm conscious of the time, and probably I'll just go around with my last set of questions to all the panelists, just requesting all to keep their responses a bit brief. I'll go to Madam Rawat again, and ma'am, in your initial remarks, you talked about a lot of Besides, obviously, ONGC being contributing to the overall energy security, a lot of new energy initiatives that are also at the forefront of its net zero ambition. Now, if I talk about CCUS specifically, which you had also briefly touched upon, CCUS obviously has had special mentions in the recent budget session as well, the government coming up with financial schemes to promote this sector. Now, from an exploration standpoint, what are some of the subsurface and the geological capabilities or remodeling that are required, or that is required for repurposing to enhance the infusion of CCUS in the country?
So I'll just mention here in ONGC, we started thinking and actually analyzing the entire aspect of CCUS way ahead of, I think, rest of the country, way back in 2019 and 2020. And in fact, we sort of formed or projectized it, but the problem was where to get the carbon, the CO2 with a 99% purity. And the project entailed the supply, the constant feed from one of the refineries, but the transportation at that point of time. And can you imagine it? We were being charged for the carbon dioxide as well, which the refinery was emitting. And it entailed an 80-kilometer long pipeline. So, but we, along with the sequestration of carbon that was captured, we were envisaging to enhance our production from one of our depleted oil fields, which is in Gandhar in Gujarat, one of the largest oil fields. It was discovered in the 80s, and the recoveries were very low. So in order to do enhanced oil recovery, we had thought of pumping in CO2 and then getting the additional oil. But even at that point of time, the cost of per barrel of oil, after paying for the CO2 and the pipeline, was coming to around, might be $70 to $80 per barrel. It was not feasible, and we were being charged per ton a huge amount by the refinery. Anyway, over the years, and since CCUS has become now a national known thing, as I already mentioned, we have had committees with the Niti Aayog. I was a part of it for 1 year. The Department of Science and Technology had a high-level task force again for a year, and we have looked at all the aspects. So first was trying to create the hub and spoke model, wherein the transportation of carbon that is captured. A lot of people talk of direct carbon capture, but again, that is going to build the cost and not really going to serve the purpose. So the estimations as to how much can be fed, that has been done. The hub and spoke model as to creating the sink areas and the supply, that also has been studied and analyzed. The other aspect, and one aspect, subsurface, if you talk from exploration, like I was talking about geothermal, we know what the lithologies are. We also know what how much of carbon will be held per square inch in different kind of rock types or lithologies. The other aspect is, and this I have interacted with, like I was saying, a lot of European countries, companies, as well as Canadian companies, where they have taxation as high as $90. This is, I am talking about in 23, $90 per ton of emission. In India, if I undertake CCUS, and believe me, it's a very, very cost-intensive affair, I really do not know whether I'd be rewarded for my incentive, or whether there is a taxation for the emitters. So again, it is the economics of the entire carbon cycle that has to be formalized and indigenized for India. Because along with the known big emitters and hard to abate, there is a lot of unorganized sector. We don't even know who is emitting, honestly. So, because I did it for ONGC, so I know how the numbers can vary. And CCUS, we have created 2 labs in ONGC. One is at Dehradun, the other one is at Ahmedabad, wherein we are studying the different rock types, the brines, the different chemical reactions that are going to be done. And as I was mentioning, I used to do the digital models, 3D models for oil and gas migration and entrapment. So I thought, let me utilize these models to see if I pump in CO2. Now the rate of absorption of CO2 also varies subsurface. You just cannot pump in the equal amount in different lithologies at different depths. So you have to study it, otherwise it is going to spill over, or create an overpressure in the subsurface which will cause microseismicity. And again, like we were initially starting in 23, this is what I said, we cannot do it in seismically sensitive zones. There was a talk about some company trying to sequester carbon dioxide in the Northeast. And when I mentioned, I said, because you're creating an imbalance in the subsurface, when you're putting something which is not naturally there. They said, no, wahan kuch nahi aata. And the 4th day we had a 3.4 earthquake in Jorhat. And I just instantly got reminded. I said, maine kaha, hum log udhar hi ka hi baat kar rahe the kahin. So anyway, that is another thing. But this subsurface knowledge. The other thing is, and it has been seen in the studies, and I am also telling you about the studies, the simulation studies that were done by Saudi Aramco. They have shared presentations in different forums that the plume of carbon dioxide which gets sequestered or which you pump inside has a tendency to migrate, in the subsurface over a period of time. So you have to make sure that in 10 years from now, in 100 years from now, where your carbon dioxide is. And that simulation, ONGC has the capability. So, the subsurface knowledge of the geology, of the reservoir, will help you identify areas where you can sequester, how much you can sequester, at what pressure you can pump in, and how long is it going to stay and not contaminate the groundwater table. I mean, that's another aspect of it. And, I've had the opportunity of visiting the Northern Lights project, which is in Norway. And like was being mentioned by Ritu over here, in R&D we have been seeing, but it's a very fragmented effort I'm seeing in the country. Every university or institute I used to go to, because I have my as an advisory role for the R&D setups. Every university you talk and you'll hear the students or the research students talk about doing something in green hydrogen. But there is no connect across. I mean, we are trying to invent the wheel everywhere and at every moment, whereas I think the carbon capture, the clean energy addressal, has to be at a national level in a broader network. I mean, the ecosystem, again, for transport, the surface facility in India for CCUS is yet to develop. And it involves a lot of metallurgy. It involves a lot of studies in terms of at what pressures you're carrying your CO2, of course, security and safety, environmental safety is another aspect. So a lot of research has to go into the metallurgical part of it. Who's going to do the EPC for these CCUS projects? I've talked with Linde, Shlomo, everyone, but that aspect of the ecosystem in India has to develop. And in terms of the opportunities, if you look for future employment, they are humongous. Another thing which I would like to mention, since Ritu was talking about, a lot of aspects not being there for example, for the solar, but the immense increase in the renewables actually has come because of the private sector participation. And that has to be encouraged more and more. And private sector, private companies, a lot of startups I have come across in the last 6 to 7 months, they have tie-ups with the academia because they are more flexible, they are more, agile. So I think the emphasis and the sharing of knowledge has to be there in terms of even green hydrogen or, creating green hydrogen hubs. So CCUS, that is one way of taking away carbon in a major way from the atmosphere. But again, everybody has to come together in a partnership. And believe me, Northern Lights, Equinor, because we have an MOU, the ONGC had an MOU with Equinor. Initially, we used to think it is Equinor doing Northern Lights. And when I reached there, it is literally, because I said, you have a population, Norway has a population of 5.6 million. I said, where are you going to ensure your carbon dioxide feed over a period of time? And then Northern Lights is a separate entity itself. They said, no, we are getting our carbon dioxide across the land from Germany, from the hard-to-abate industries. We are getting it from Teesside in the UK through a subsea pipeline. So actually, it is a consortium of 42 companies and literally the EU. So, in India, and this is what I say, in India, we have to create a consortium like that, which talks about everything and everything. Clean energy, now, if today it took me for 28 kilometers, believe me, it took me 1 hour and 40 minutes traveling. Do you know how many, we talk about EVs? I'll tell you another story. In NCR, there are 3.3 crore vehicles plying every day, 18,000 vehicles being registered every day. 1.5 crores in Delhi itself. We were so worried about the AQI numbers, right? Now there has to be an alternative provided to so many vehicles being on the road at the same time. It's mind-boggling. So we in India, and one thing good about India is, and way back in '98, I just happened, while traveling to Australia, stop over at Singapore, and there I was looking at people having a mobile, even the kids were having mobile when I was in the marketplace. And I was just thinking, मैंने कहा India में ऐसे कब होगा? One good thing about India and Indians is, we start late. We take time to break that threshold, but we learn very fast and we catch up very fast. And in fact, we do better than a lot of them. In mobile, nobody came up with Paytm and all that, right? India did. Literally every, cash is almost non-existent. Agar aap bolo na cash pay karna hai, people will look at you in a very peculiar manner. So we are very fast learners, even for solar, wind, whatever. We pick up very fast, and we have a huge potential in terms of the knowledge, in terms of developing a core competency. And I think in CCUS, again, it is not only in the offshore. We have a huge area of sedimentary basins, different layers, where we can become the CCUS hub. That is how I look at India, in trying to get CO2 from the other areas, other industries in Southeast Asia. We've been interacting with Petronas, with Pertamina, looking at that. We have the capability. We can do CCUS in a really, really big way, and therein bring in the employment and the earnings from it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll just take, again, very valid points, but I'll take a cue from what, one important point that was around partnerships and collaborations. And let me quickly move to Mr. Joshi. Mr. Joshi, OGL, you talked about a lot of initiatives, renewable energy, biogas. And, in most of these initiatives, there is an immense requirement of collaboration and partnership at the ground level with state agencies, municipal bodies, power distribution companies, gas distribution companies. In OGL's journey, how have you seen this partnership evolving? What have been, because every part of country in India has its own set of, I will not say challenges, but uniqueness, in terms of how we can make something workable. What has been your experience, in terms of the responsiveness that you have seen from the different agencies at a local level?
See, to my mind, collaboration is the key. And when we talk about these projects, ONGC is a sovereign entity and ONGC Green is also a government company. So we have presence in various states. The four major stakeholders with whom we need alliances, the state governments, because they own the land, they have the incentives, they give you the permits, and finally they are your demand aggregators. Like for CBG, we are working with the government of Chhattisgarh to find out suitable sites. We had worked with the UPNEDA in UP to find out suitable sites for CBG because it's a new area. For green hydrogen, when we talk of consumption, we are thinking of captive consumption, and then we need to talk with the government of Karnataka for consumption in MRPL in the state of Karnataka. So government, to my mind, gives you the flexibility, the power and the zeal to move forward. So you need to have very good relations with the state governments. Second important aspect when we come to CBG is about the municipal corporations, because you get the MSW is the most stable form of CBG production, and for that you need segregated waste. Most of the MSW projects are failing because you are not getting the proper feed, properly segregated feeds. So collaboration at that level is required to have a regular supply and to give you a regular yield. Otherwise, most of the plants are operating at half the capacity. Third important entity with whom we need to interact are the CGD entities, because once you produce CBG, it needs to be injected into a city gas distribution system. And for that, you need to have collaboration with them. And finally, RE. For renewable energy, you need to have good collaboration with the state nodal agencies as well as with the DISCOMs. So for state nodal agencies, you need all your clearances, your projects are registered with nodal agencies, and finally, your offtake is done by the DISCOMs. So you need to have collaboration with them. And as far as collaboration at broad level is concerned, we have formed a JV with NTPC Green called ONGPL. And through ONGPL, we have acquired a company called ANA with 4.1 gigawatt capacity. Because we want to grow to 10 gigawatt, and for that we need a leap jump, and for that what we did was acquisition of IANA through ONGPL. Similarly, in CBG, we are planning to have joint ventures with technology partners who know the business. We are an oil and gas company or renewable gas energy company, but CBG is a different business. We can give financial strength, we can give the project execution capabilities, but the technology comes from the niche players. So there we are having alliances with prominent players in the CBG area. Similarly, as brought out for green hydrogen or for CCUS, we need to have collaboration with companies who are having technical know-how of that particular niche area, and then only we can succeed in that direction.
Thank you so much, sir. I am conscious of, again, the tight budget, and I'll request my last 2-3 members to just restrict their responses to a couple of minutes. I'm moving quickly to Mr. Rakesh Singh. Mr. Singh, Karan mentioned about limited offtake potential of, things like hydrogen in India, right? KBR has been leading, and taking a lot of initiatives around process technologies of hydrogen, green ammonia, and others. As per you, what are some of those, or rather, which of those technologies are closer to real-world scalability, and what are some of the challenges that you see or barriers you see in their uptake in a country like India?
Okay, so from KBR, we license process technologies to the industry in several domains. Well, KBR is more than 100-year-old company in the refinery sector. In ammonia sector, more than 50% of world's ammonia is produced using KBR technology. We're not only relying on the existing technologies, but we are also looking at future technologies. Take the case of green ammonia. highest number of plants in the world by any company is by KBR. Last week, we announced commissioning of a green ammonia plant in Japan. But again, here it's more of future forward, future looking kind of things. The last week plant that got commissioned in Japan was a 4 MTPD plant, 4 metric tons per day ammonia plant. Whereas globally, every year we commission almost like 6,000 metric tons per day ammonia based on fossil fuels. So yes, things like green ammonia is the future. We have to stay. We have to be in that industry. I'll give you an example of refining as well. In refining, we offer something called sustainable aviation fuel. The technology that we offer is based on feedstock that's very widely available. Again, it's a future forward-looking kind of thing. In some countries, it's a mandate from the from the governments to have sustainable aviation fuel up to a certain percentage. Therefore, industries have to buy it. Some airlines can offer higher tickets, like Emirates. They will offer higher tickets if the fuel being used is sustainable aviation fuel. But will someone fly on Indigo if they are using SAF? Perhaps the answer is no. So there are certain sectors where we have to be ready with the future forward-looking technologies, and as and when the time comes up, industry will pick it up.
Thank you so much. Last couple of questions, going first to Mr. Karan. Karan, the theme of this summit, as we again just re-highlighting net zero in daily life, and when I talk about green hydrogen, how do you envision green hydrogen, indirectly shaping, or directly or indirectly shaping everyday's lives in India very soon?
Yeah, an interesting question. I mean, daily life, while hydrogen is abundant, we drink water every day. And, but when it comes to hydrogen, we always talk about hard to abate sectors, hard to electrify sector. Does it touch our daily lives? Maybe, not directly, but indirectly, what we foresee is, when it comes to daily life, maybe, there are better technologies when it comes to electrification. It has a lot to offer. Electrification also comes with the inherent energy efficiency aspect, so that is an added advantage with these technologies. And we might not see, the cook stoves running on hydrogen gases, because there are electric induction cooktops, which, are better placed when technically as well as commercially speaking. Or maybe our cars, as ONGC Green was also indicating, there are technologies, when it comes to, starting from 100 units, if you are combusting hydrogen or for fuel cell, and then again producing electricity out of it, starting from electricity to molecule to electricity, we are losing on so much of energy, and all you get in your wheels is probably just 30 units. While in terms of battery electric vehicles, maybe 80 units is what we get on the wheels. So there are many better options when it comes to daily livelihoods. But when you look at the food on your plate, then you can link, okay, this is the food I'm eating, and then the farmers are using gray ammonia. They are using, fertilizer industry is using natural gas. Maybe there is an opportunity there. India is highly subsidizing this sector, but we also import a lot of ammonia. So there is a good business case where when it comes to replacing the imported gray ammonia with producing your own green ammonia maybe on the backyards and then using it for the fertilizer. So that is one aspect. Maybe the steel sector is another where we see that, the housing construction, the studies have indicated that, when it comes to unit economics, and then eventually in housing, it will hardly increase the overall, capex by 1 or 2%. Maybe 4%, not more than that. But if certain mandates are introduced by some states, there are certain states competing with each other, attracting a lot of investments. So here I would say that states also have to come up with, some leadership role here, come up with some green procurement rules. And steel can be one of the areas where we can see that, hardly, maybe the BMWs, Mercedes, anyways, a luxury car, and you hardly see a dent in the, in the end. So these are some of the initial players who can take it up. As Ritu ma'am was saying that, till today, there are some players who are paying maybe 15 or 20 rupees power purchase. They're still honoring that. So we need certain, not guinea pigs, but some leaders.
Noted. My last question to Mr. Suresh Babu, and Mr. Babu, India's clean energy transition is strongly dependent on large-scale demonstration projects. We are seeing a lot of pilots going in a centralized or in a decentralized manner, but how does a centralized agency and a government agency like DST is taking to kind of accelerate some of these pilot to commercial scale transition initiatives?
Yeah, as far as battery is concerned, so far we don't have any battery that is produced within India. I think all the batteries that we are using in the cars are imported. So when we look at battery manufacturing facilities within the country, I think nowadays, now 16 companies, private companies have come forward, including Amar Raja and Exide Industries. And all of them are at initial stage, and they announced their factories within the country. But from the government side, government is also planning to set up pilot production plants, which will mimic the gigawatt-hour products being developed in the Western countries. So it is basically these particular national level facilities will be opened for academic institutions and also for the startups, and those who want to invest in their own factories, they can actually test and try in these facilities. And as I mentioned in the beginning, EV R&D mission, one of the focus is to create such pilot production facilities which will bridge the gap in between them. And also another last one point I would mention is that we don't have equipments for battery cell manufacturing within the country. All of them have been imported either from South Korea or from China. So some effort is also going on to develop indigenous battery cell manufacturing equipment within the country that will also make us independent and less dependent on other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. With that, I bring this panel discussion to closure. But before closing, I think thank you so very much to all my fellow panelists. And apologies to the organizers for exceeding the time budget. But I think the discussion was so engaging and thought-provoking. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed moderating this session, and I hope same did the audience in listening and hearing and taking some important takeaways. Back to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our moderator as well as panelists for a very rich and a thought-provoking exchange. Thank you so much. We sincerely appreciate your contributions, ladies and gentlemen. I'd request now our moderator for this session to please hand over the mementos to all the esteemed panelists. I request Mr. Aniket Dasgupta to please first give a memento to Ms. Sushma Rawat, former Director, Exploration, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation. Please give a big round for Ms. Sushma Rawat. I'd now request Mr. Dasgupta to please hand over a memento to Dr. Suresh Babu Muttana, Scientist, and Director, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your perspectives on innovation ecosystems and policy frameworks. Thank you so much for having joined us. Next, I would invite Mr. Rakesh Singh, Director, Global Marketing, Sustainable Technology Solutions, KBR Inc. Thank you so much, sir. You brought in global industry experience in sustainable technologies and enriched the discussions. Thank you so much. Next, I would invite Mr. H.N. Joshi, Chief Operating Officer, ONGC Green Limited. Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting all the important points, including strategies for scaling green energy. Thank you so much. Next, Ms. Ritu Lal, Client Partner Infrastructure and Energy, Amrop, India. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your significant points and discussions. Thank you so much for having joined us. And next, I would invite Mr. Karan Arora, Advisor, Green Hydrogen, GIZ, India. Thank you so much, sir, for your significant contributions, including our discussions on green hydrogen and international cooperation. Thank you so much. And I now request Puneet Singh Nagi to please come and also present a memento to our moderator, Mr. Aniket Dasgupta. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause to Mr. Dasgupta. Thank you so much, sir, for guiding the discussion so beautifully. Thank you so much.